Potoff writes about a number of teenagers and how this plays out for them. One of them is a girl who he met when she was 17, Kawana Lerma.
She had a really chaotic childhood. Her parents split up. She moved around a lot. She was homeless for a while. Just all the bad things that happen to poor kids were happening to her.
The first 10 years of my life was like really messed up.
This is Kawana. She came into the studio for this radio story to talk with me and Paul.
Because it was like my mom, for 5 years, she was going to place, sleeping wherever she could sleep at, you know. And when I was born, my mom and my father, they really couldn't, you know, take care of another child or whatever. It's so many different incidents I remember. It's hard to state on one.
When you think back in those times, do you think of that as like, well, you were mostly happy most of the time? Like, what was it like for you?
No, I was never happy. I was never happy because I was just like an angry child. And I really don't understand what I was angry about. I can't even remember what I was angry about.
And so she had trouble in all kinds of ways. And the two biggest ways that she had trouble were ones that I think anyway had a lot to do with her brain development. One is that she had a really bad temper, bad impulse control. She would just kind of like shut down and she couldn't see anything and she would just go into these rages. And that was a real problem, especially in school.
I can't even remember this particular incident when we was in that classroom.
Kawana got into lots of fights.
It was
For instance, with one girl at school who got to her, Kawana told me, like a bug crawling under your sweater.
One time I did that. She just made me so mad. I just started just screaming everything I could in class because I just got up like I was like a Terminator or something and I was about to attack her and I was just like screaming and I just like stopped the whole classroom or whatever. And Mr. Coleman.
This is the dean of her high school, Mr. Coleman.
He told me, Miss Lerma, stop cussing. But when I blank out, I'm not thinking about nobody that's right here in front of me. I see him in front of me just doing this. And he told me about that. He was like, you blanked out. It was like you didn't see me. He was like, I was saying, Miss Lerma, stop cussing, and you just kept on cussing. And I was like, I don't know, like, I blank out.
So she was one of those kids who was always fighting with teachers, talking back.
She told me that I think in her sixth grade year she got 72 referrals, meaning she was sent to the principal's office 72 times. And as a result, she was sent into the slow class. She was put into this class where all the kids do poorly.
It's called the WINGS program.
Exactly, the WINGS program. And she, you know, it was... She still talks about how it was kind of devastating for her emotionally to be put in that class.
So I got put in this program called WINGS, and I was embarrassed.
You were embarrassed because you just felt like...
Because we were retarded. Like, that's what we was called. It wasn't like, I'm not going to be the runner bush. I'm not going to say, like, we were just underperforming. No, we were retarded. That's what we got called. That's what we was seen as. That's what it was.
And was the idea in WINGS that you were supposed to just like go there for a while and get your remedial stuff and then get back in your regular class? What were they doing in WINGS?
We wasn't doing nothing. That's what that's what they said we were gonna be doing. But most time we had played video games, eat pop. Nobody never did. We didn't do anything. It was like they was just carrying us to our tables every day. I felt like they treated us like something was wrong with us or something. Like they was like, you want to play the video game? Here you go, let's play the video game. I can't do that in my other class, so why are we doing it here? You know?
Potoff says that what happened to Kawana happens to kids all the time.
Where the early stresses and problems that had to do with her family and had to do with, you know, how her parents were dealing with life, all were creating in her brain a set of problems that then when she got into the school system, they didn't have a way to deal with it except for putting her into the slow class, except for saying, you're a problem child.
Which raises the question, what else could the school system do for a kid like this? What would work? Well, James Heckman, the economist you heard earlier who's studying these non-cognitive skills, says that one advantage of working with non-cognitive skills is that they can be learned. That's not true for cognitive ability, for intelligence, the way we usually think of it, like your intelligence on an IQ test.
Well, cognitive, pure IQ tends to be pretty hardened, at least what's called rank stability. If you're a top dog in the distribution at age 10, you're probably going to be top dog at age 30.
Versus non-cognitive skills, he says.
social skills, personality traits, the ability to stay on task, these can be taught, and these can be taught at later ages. And there's a malleability there that actually offers a new perspective on social policy, how social policy might redirect itself towards those more malleable soft skills.
And so with that in mind, programs and experiments have sprung up to try to change kids' lives by teaching these non-cognitive skills. And Pothoff documents a bunch of these in his book. What's striking, Tuff says, is how simple some of the interventions are. Many of them basically come down to having a coach for kids to teach them resilience and optimism and grit in certain situations.
There are some studies where they've taken kids and given them, taken kids, I think, in middle school and given them a college mentor. And this college mentor would work with these kids not very intensively, like meeting with them a couple of times a year. And the only thing that they would say to them, the only message that they would give to them is simply this idea that, scientists have studied intelligence and they've found that you can improve your intelligence. So you should just think about that as you're going through your day. Whether or not they're right that they can improve their intelligence, if you think that, especially when you're a kid, when you're a teenager, you do way better at school. It gives you this sort of confidence, this optimism, this ability to try new things, to push yourself harder. And one of the things that I find most interesting about this study is that it's the kids who have sort of cultural reasons to be anxious about their skills who are most affected by the message. So especially girls and math. Girls do great on math until they get to middle school, and then they start becoming socially anxious, and they tend to fall apart. When they hear this message, the girls catch up to the boys entirely. They close that gap 100%.
100%, meaning the girls' average math test scores were the same as the boys' average math test scores. That is a huge result.